United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a proclamation declaring May of 2014 as CalFresh Awareness Month. CalFresh is the new name of the federally funded supplemental nutrition and food benefit formerly known as, in California as the Food Stamps Program. The CalFresh program is designed to help reduce food insecurity and encourage healthy food choices by increasing access and participation in the program, which is administered by the Department of Public and Social Services. Unfortunately, many in need of immediate food assistance are unaware that they may qualify for CalFresh. To help bring greater awareness about this program and its benefit, the city is proclaiming May as CalFresh Month. And the proclamation reads as follows: whereas the local economy continues to show signs of improvement, many residents are still financially impacted by the recent Great Recession. Los Angeles County experienced some of the highest unemployment rates in the nation. Unfortunately, many in need of immediate food assistance are unaware that they may qualify for CalFresh, the federally funded supplemental nutrition program, formerly known in California as the Food Stamp Program. Whereas one of the highest priorities of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Social Services is to reduce food insecurity in the nation's largest county and encourage healthy food choices, and whereas in the county of Los Angeles, only 59% of those eligible are receiving CalFresh food assistance, even though a record high of 1.1 million individuals received the benefit in January of this year. And whereas in May 2011, DPSS collaborated with various government agencies, community and faith-based organizations, food banks, schools, and supermarkets to successfully implement the first comprehensive month-long CalFresh awareness program, a campaign to educate residents about the CalFresh program and remove many of the barriers that were discouraging eligible families and individuals from applying. And whereas DPSS has since enlisted the help of the Department of Public Health, local school districts, supermarket chains, farmers markets, and food banks in sharing the valuable information about nutrition education and the long-term benefits of exercise. And whereas the City of Inglewood, in conjunction with community partners such as the Social Justice Learning Institute, are committed to bringing greater awareness to the community about programs and services that promote and safeguard the health and well-being of Inglewood residents. The Social Justice Learning Institute works with CalFresh recipients through their nutrition education and obesity prevention program. Now, therefore, be it known that the mayor and council members of the City of Inglewood, California, do hereby join the County of Los Angeles in proclaiming May 2014 as CalFresh Awareness Month, and urge all city residents to learn about and share information on the benefits of the CalFresh program with those who may need it most. Presented the 19th of May. And here to accept the proclamation is Derek Steele, Health Equity Programs Director, and team members from the Social Justice Learning Institute. I want to. Do you have any words?
Just a few. I know we're here to on behalf of the community, but I want to say that this is for all the work that everyone has been working to do over the last few years. The Nutrition Education Obesity Prevention Program that we have at the Rogers Park and Edward Vincent Park, free classes for community members to actually come and actually get, are things that all of us are actually doing. So I want to extend this to all the greater work that community members, as well as city council members and even city staff, have been doing to make Inglewood a very healthy city with healthy residents in it.
All right, we'll go over here and present the proclamation.
Artie? I don't think so.
That's okay. Huh? After, that's fine. You should give her some of those.
Any persons wishing to address City Council on any item of today's agenda may do so at this time. Mr. Mather?
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Gil Matthew from District 4. First, I'll start off briefly with finance and payment of the bills. And I want to know how much debt, outstanding debt, this city really owes now. Last time I looked, first it was $1.2 billion. Now, successfully, we've been paying it down, so we north of $1 billion. Here again, we need oversight and transparency on the part of this council, who up to now has been mum. So mum has been the word. And I'm concerned about it because mum is not going to pay the bills. All right, get back to the agenda. DR1 with Hollywood Park, with the infrastructure. Now you're talking about the specific plan. Now, there's rumbles the Pacific Plan no longer exists. Now, if that's information, please correct me. I don't believe it, but that's what I'm hearing.
It's kind of rumbles here.
Rumble, and one of your proteges is rumbling it.
Okay.
Now, DR2
It's rumbling.
with the mid-year report, receive and file. Receive an oral report. Oral report. There's a lot of work been done on that, and you have a very competent chief financial officer. He's been peeling back the onion now for 6 months. Now, he doesn't like what he sees. I don't either, but I haven't seen it yet. Now, you want to have DR3. Now, here again, to me, and let it go where it's no misunderstanding. If you outsource the court enforcement, SEIU, I'm ready to walk with you. And if you don't walk, I will walk for you. And the people of Inglewood will walk for you. We are not going to give out jobs outsourcing and lay off people that reside in Inglewood. It's not going to happen. And if it needs to take you out, you're going to be taken out. That is a strike issue. In any union, works its salt. If you won't walk, then dissolve. If it starts there, you can give it up. The city, and I'm not ready to give up this city without a fight. And to the last man, I'll be standing with my walker.
Oh, Mr. Matthew. Any other comments?
I want to ask you a question. You had something here on the DR4 Park and Library. Is that the people that draw those murals downtown? Is that what that is? When they come in and draw murals?
Yes, these
Oh,
are
okay.
youth and volunteers.
Okay. And DR3 that Mr. Matthew was speaking on. You're not getting, I don't think you're getting rid of everyone. You're going to make them reapply. Am I right?
That's going to be discussed, but there is a first preference for employees that are employed that can meet the minimum requirements for the new employer. So they're all being considered, and anyone that's deemed able to complete the assignment, they get first preference.
Oh, okay, that's slick, okay. Because most of them, we don't have but 6 of them. 6 of them in traffic right now. We don't have any employees in traffic. So to save the city, we got to do something. I know what you, the council, what everyone is trying to do. And it was one other thing I wanted to ask you. Oh, he mentioned something about Hollywood Park. Where is that at? Hollywood Park.
It's 90th and Prairie.
Where is it at, Gil? Okay, now, isn't that, did the company change or something like that?
No, not yet.
So we still gonna have all of these stuff that,
Proceeding as planned.
okay, it will proceed, right? Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor, members of the City Council, Morris Griffin, District 1. I'm here today to discuss code enforcement. As you all know, I came here the last time and I gave you all a document showing the actual proposal or the actual bill that was passed in the state of California, dealing with not only police, education. Mayor, at the same time, I remember you said you thought that it was only passed for education. But in addition to that, it deals with seniors, also code enforcement, but others as well. So I'm here today to say the $93 billion that we are probably going to sunset because we have the House, Assembly, and the Senate, and we shouldn't have any problems in sunsetting it. This money, this $93 billion, can be allocated now that Governor Jerry Brown wants to seek a second term. We shouldn't have any problems in finding this money, getting this money to code enforcement to make sure that we keep these employees hired. I'm here today to speak on their behalf as a citizen, not as a shop steward, even though I'm a shop steward for 721 SEIU and done some things there, but at the same time, I'm here today on their behalf. And so I'm here to ask that you strongly consider this $93 billion that will be sunsetted once we put it in motion, so that there will be money available for these code enforcement employees.
You are aware that these aren't code enforcement employees, right?
We
They're-
were looking at, I was thinking because they were associated with the police that they were part of public safety.
No, they're not public safety, and they're not code enforcers. They're parking control people.
So, but they don't cross kids across the street and from grade school? That's what they told me.
Crossing guards do.
They told me that they do that.
They fill in if crossing guards aren't available.
Okay. Well, if they're not associated with the police department in terms of helping them with the grade school crossing, which I was told by them that they do, if they're not dealing with public safety, then I guess I would be speaking out of turn. However,
Mr. Griffin, the crossing guards have the primary responsibility, but if we don't have somebody there, we'll even use a police officer if we have to make sure that an intersection is staffed, but that's not their primary function. Their primary function is to write parking tickets,
right,
okay?
okay,
So we did hear you last time, but
okay. All right, fair enough.
Thank
fair
you,
enough.
sir.
Thank you.
we'll close public comment. Madam City Clerk, we'll open the successor agency, the Housing Authority and the Finance Authority. Could you call the roll?
A quorum is present.
Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant register. Move.
allow payments.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council and agency members, Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Item 2, CSA 2, H2, and F1.
And we'll call to order F1.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council and agency members, Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Consent calendar, items 3 through 16.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members, Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. DR1. What's-
Is a
Yeah.
staff report recommending approval of an advance fund agreement with Hollywood Park Land LLC to cover city costs and activities associated with processing an amendment to the Hollywood Park specific plan.
Move 1, 2, 3, 4.
Second.
Before we vote, I just want to make sure everyone understands this is an advance funds agreement, which means that Hollywood Park is paying for plan check and other services to expedite the review of their project. And so the city has to be the contractor because they report to us. And so they pay us the money that we will pay someone else to work on our behalf. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that. Madam Clerk?
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. DR2.
Is a fiscal year 2013-14 mid-year budget review report.
Receive and file. DR3. Oh. No.
Staff report,
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, this is the mid-year budget review. Mr., I'm sorry, Mr. Esparza. Please, give us your report.
When I have bad news, I have to talk, and when I have good news, I can't.
Because it'll upset Mr. Mathis.
Okay, again, excuse me, let me introduce myself. I'm David Esparza, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer. And this is my second mid-year report and the first mid-year report for this fiscal year. We've got some good indicators this year. Our property taxes are again continuing to increase. We'll look at some detail here in a minute. Sales taxes are up 5.79% over the same period last fiscal year. If you remember in my excuse me, in my first quarter report, that number was 6.6%. It continues to rise, and it's now at 5.7% over the same period last year. Building permit fees are continuing to increase and primarily driven by the work in the residential sound insulation program. Utility users taxes remain, stable, increase in water and then decrease in telecom, as we've been reporting. The hotel tax or transit occupancy tax continues to increase. Hollywood Park is stable as a result of the revenues that were put aside in order to replace declining revenues there at the park. We've had this and we've reported on it for the last year. And so now we are actually transferring some of those revenues into the general fund in order to stabilize those taxes and fees. Unemployment in the region continues to decrease, which is always good news for our city. And city expenditures continue to decrease as well, and we're under budget for the first and second quarters, and they will, in comparison to last year, we're doing very well indeed.
Okay, just to make it clear, because that's like a red thingy, and you said under budget, but in this case, it's a good thing because
It's a
we
good
spent
thing.
less than we anticipated.
Right.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're spending less in order to maintain our operations than we actually budgeted, so that shows up as a red down arrow. But again, that's a good indication that we're managing our budget well and our expenditures and revenues, and so that's what that all points to. This is where we started the year. We've talked about the $7.9 million shortfall that we started this budget off with, and then also the strategy to bridge that shortfall. You can see here there was a workforce reduction plan of $2.2 million. Freezing vacant positions was to net us an additional 1.5. Use of general fund reserves, this was $3.2 million. Revenue from fee increases, primarily planning, 100 plus 150,000. Anticipated forum revenues, 250,000. Administrative efficiencies would save us an additional 300,000, and that also basically goes into the number that we have in our overall savings, within our operations, because that is, the manifestation of, those cuts and efficiencies. And then the last one there is all merit increases for staff were eliminated for this fiscal year, which saves the city $203,000. As you can imagine, our total general fund authorized positions are 448. This is what we've been reporting on fairly consistently. And you can see that currently we have 76 positions that are vacant. All right. We missed this in our edit, and that should be the mid-year projection would be $4.3 million by the end of the year. Now, this does not include, this is salaries only, so there would be probably an additional $2 million in savings on benefits that we would also add into this. But again, this here is the indication that, we have a number of vacancies, and the, overall savings that we have in our operations are primarily driven by the vacant positions that, we know at some point, especially with the police department, we're going to have to fill those vacancies. And so although the savings is helping us now, long term, we know that we're going to have to start using this money in order to, put more police officers on the street. This is a new chart that we put in this year. It's the overtime projection. You can see that, based upon our equal distribution of our overtime allowance, or, for this year, this is where we should be spending on overtime. All right. Currently, though, at mid-year, this line is where we're headed. All right. So that you can see there is a significant difference between these two lines, and the budget that we have for overtime is $1.1 million. This, if we continue on this stretch, we will basically end the year at about $2.4 million in overtime. However, and again, I wanted to bring this into the discussion this time because it really starts to point to the need to fill positions, especially in the police department, because so much of the work and the activity over there is being done on overtime, which provides a short-term solution, but not a long-term solution. Also, there was finance department also had a play in this as well, because during December, January, we had to use overtime in order to process a number of the retirees and the final checks and payouts for persons who were leaving city service at that time. And so there has been a spike in both the in the finance department as well. But again, I would imagine that overtime to taper off significantly now that all of that has been taken care of. But it does affect our numbers in the first half. This is our revenue report. You can see that, as I had pointed out in that first economic indicator slide, that our revenues are looking better. You can see right there that overall, at the end of the mid-year point, we're at 54% of our revenues, indicating that we're a little bit better than what we had anticipated at this particular time. We have not adjusted this for the pay or the receipt of our tax payments from the county, so it may have spiked it a bit. But all in all, you can see that a lot of our revenues are doing quite well. You can see, and then here with the property taxes are at 54, other local tax revenues at 60%, and then other revenues, which would be business taxes and that, are at 74%. So all in all, we are, and I've been reporting this as a fairly consistent theme, is that the city is on the mend. It is improving, and so you can see this when we start to break down, the various revenue areas. Again, here we have the kind of a synopsis of that. Utility users taxes are up $54,000 or 1%. Sales taxes are up $347,000 or 6%. Property taxes are down 1.4%, but this is a result, if you remember, that the county grabbed back some of our property tax revenues, and so that's the reason why it's offset from in the comparison. I have good news to report that the county has notified us that they won't be sweeping an additional $4 million for the Department of Finance for the state of California, and so we are going to be able to keep that, at least for the time being. And I have to also, applaud the work of our outside counsel, Royce Jones, because it was very much a large part of his efforts that the Department of Finance has basically rescinded its position of grabbing an additional $4 million from us on this year. Other local taxes are up 7% or $639,000. So overall, our general fund revenues are up, 7% over last year. All right. Now this isn't, the other chart that I just showed you was, in relationship to the budget. This is in relationship to, the same period of last year. So, this is the, what we show as our projection. You can see right now that there's that bump right there in January, a little bit in February that took us above, even in March. So the trend line now is above our projection, for the year. All right. Again, there's some seasonality to this, so I always guard my optimism with a little bit of reasonableness, and so I know that this, at the end of the year, I am now, confident that we will end above this line, but it won't be at this particular point, because that's very, very aggressive right now. This shows us how we were doing in the first quarter, so that you can see that we were trending right on our projection. You can see the dotted lines and then the solid lines with the dots on it. And so that indicates that, that first quarter performed right on our expectations. Expenditures. This is, again, where we are. This is, and right there is the big number. You can see that we are at 42% of our projected budget at this particular time. And so that is what's making up the significant savings. You can see that police and fire is 45% versus 50% at this particular time. And I can say that we can attribute that to police because the fire is actually, their contract is actually a little bit higher than what we had last year. General government, we're at 48%, 39% for parks, recreation, library services, and then community development, and all of those are down. However, some of these will start to ramp up with the summer season, especially parks and recs, and then public works, will also start to become engaged in their summer projects of resurfacing streets, sidewalks, and tree trimming. Again, this shows our trend line because, this is the dotted line there with the dots on it indicates that's the equal distribution of our expenditures over the 12-month. And this is the trajectory of our current spending. So we are, again, below our overall expected, expenditures for the year. Again, I always use a bit of caution because I want to make sure that everybody realizes that this can start to move up as we get through the summer months and we start, having many more programs come online. This is where we were at the end of the first quarter, just as a means of comparison. And you can see again, during that first quarter, we were pretty close right on that line, a little bit above it, trending at the end of the year, but, very much in sync. So the major expense categories that we have for the general fund, and this goes across all departments, all services, general fund departments and general fund services, let me clarify that. And you can see that personnel services, personnel services at 44%. That is the large vacancies that we've had. Contract services are down, but, again, that's something that will pick up for the summer months. This M&O, which is maintenance and operations, this is the paper clips, pens, paper, all the other items that we use in our daily operations. Again, significant savings because of the management of departments and our supervisors. So, that shows that everybody is on board with being more efficient and saving, taking opportunities to save resources and money. Capital outlay is down, but again, this will be projects that will start to ramp up. So overall, we're at 42%, which explains the significant savings that we've actually projected at this particular point. This is the special funds. These are all the ones that we have that are basically, the revenues pay for specific services. And so the idea there is that you can't pay what you can't spend what you don't have. So these are always fairly well in check and very closely monitored by the departments that do maintain these services, such as Parks and Rec, Public Works, and others that have fee services for some of their operations. Any questions from the mayor or council?
I do have a question. Mr. Matthew talks a lot about us. He said that 2 years ago we were 1.2 billion. He says we're $1 billion now. To your knowledge, is the general fund operation in the city obligated for over $1 billion in outstanding debt, be it bonds, what have you?
No.
Okay. And the next question I have is that the redevelopment agency has been dismantled by the state of California, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Has the state taken over total obligation for the payment of any outstanding projects that have been incurred under redevelopment now? Because now that 20 million plus we used to get every year, we no longer get. So do we have any obligation for the debts of the redevelopment agency?
No, we do not.
Okay. In the last 2 years, have we paid 200 million in debt out of any source that you know of? He said we went from 1.2 to 1 billion, and I just want to clarify this once and for all.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, are there any other questions? Councilman Padilla?
Not so much a question as far as more of a comment, is that as everybody can see in these presentations, we still have some work to do as it relates to tightening our budget and being fiscally responsible, which is what you charge us with as the mayor and the council. And so I want to commend the city staff, the managers, supervisors, the workforce for working with us, alongside us, to help us balance our budget as much as we can. And knowing that for us, it's about the future of our city as it relates to our financial stability and being able to move forward from here. We looked at the police department. You mentioned the police department and the finance department being part of the response of the increase in overtime. But know that the police department, and I'm going to talk to that specifically, is continuously hiring police officers so that we can try to decrease some of that overtime. However, we're not hesitant to use those funds and staffing levels to keep our community safe. And if you look at any part of any budget, it's always, personnel and all the associated costs that kick up any majority of a budget. I think it's like 85% of your budget is personnel and whatnot. I'm I'm good with that. And certainly, we're going to try and you know, streamline it, but it's a necessary cost of doing business and keeping our community safe. Looking at the Department of Finance rescinding their decision to what, what was you said?
4.3 million.
$4.3 million. Folks, I hope you realize how important that is for our community, for all of us, to be able to have those additional funds that aren't going to be taken from us. So that's important, and I want to, again, commend you and Royce for the work in that area.
Thank you.
But I just want to end it by saying that we have a lot to do. We're not out of the woods. You know, we're continuing to look at ways to increase our finances, our budget, ways to bring some revenue sources into our community. So I get it that we're in a tight budget. I get it that we have some shortfalls that we have to make up. But I also understand that working together with the community support, with city staff support, the direction of this council is to work on this budget and make it happen. So thank you very much for your presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to also mention the fact that, going back to the police department has less officers physically on staff than at any point since I've been associated with the city. When I came on in '74 as a police officer, '72 I started as community service officer, we had probably 160 personnel. So for them to, for the last 3 years, have produced the lowest 3 consecutive years of crime since we started keeping records of Part 1 crime, and to do it with the staffing that they have, the reality is that we're going to give them every overtime dollar they need to maintain this remarkable job that they've done. And we don't want them to have to work this kind of overtime, but in this transition period, it's a necessary thing, and it ends up being a bargain because a safe city is more attractive to people that want to develop and entertain themselves here. So I want to compliment the police department. I want to thank you, the city manager and the chief financial officer, for the work that you've done. But we continually remain on point as it relates to running the city efficiently and effectively and responsibly. And it takes more than just throwing out numbers and saying, oh, woe is me. I also want to say that our efforts to defend ourselves are necessary when we talk. I heard someone complain about us spending money on attorneys as it relates to challenging the Department of Finance's rulings. And the reality is we could just roll over and play dead, or we could do what we're supposed to do and try and safeguard everything we feel the city's entitled to. And we're going to continue to do that. Thank you, Mr. Sparks.
Quite well. Thank you.
It was first and second, Madam. So we just review or receive and file. DR3.
Staff report recommending approval of an agreement with Circle to provide staffing and related vehicle for parking enforcement, traffic control, and parking meter operations.
Move 1 through 6.
Second.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and the public. I'm Ron Rubino. I'm the acting manager of Parking and Enterprise Services. The purpose of this agenda item is to accomplish the following. Council will be reviewing and approving the award of the contract to Serco, Inc. for outsourced parking staff services. This includes, in the scope of work, parking enforcement, traffic control, parking enforcement dispatch, customer service, and parking meter operations and maintenance. In this item, you'll also be asked to approve the transfer of 4 existing positions, 3 from the police department, 1 from finance to Parking Enterprise Services. One of these positions is vacant, the others are filled. The vacant position will be a converted special enforcement officer to a new enterprise services specialist. This is the core group of the city employees who will control the continuity and the effectiveness of this program. In this item, you'll be approving the deletion of 24 budgeted positions, 22 in the police department, 2 in public works, which will be replaced by contract services. 14 of these positions are filled. We have 7 full-time, 6 permanent part-time, and 1 part-time. Each of these positions will be given an opportunity to apply for a new contract services job. You're also asked to approve a mid-year budget adjustment. The resolution authorizes the transfer of appropriations from the police, public works, finance departments to parking enterprise services. This finances the last 3 months of this fiscal year, which will be operational under the new terms. You also are asked to authorize the Human Resources Department to initiate the notification processes to employees whose positions will be eliminated due to this action. And finally, we're asking for a contingency item, a rental fee to be charged to Serco if, during our transition period, we need to use our existing enforcement vehicles during the period of time. We anticipate, if your approval of this contract today, the Serco will immediately place the order for the 20 vehicles, and assuming the delivery, which they've already been negotiating with the supplier, will be here. They'll be outfitted properly with lights, safety equipment, and appropriate decals so that they're identified. But as a contingency, we don't want to disrupt our June 30th deadline, so they're willing to pay the city 56 cents a mile for the use of the limited vehicles if needed. This action is based on a long and comprehensive process of examining alternatives to reduce costs and increase productivity for parking services. The City Council has provided direction to staff, and this started in June of 2010 with the consolidation of all parking services under one department and the formation of the Parking Enterprise Services. The City Council has previously increased meter fees, citation fees, and penalties in light with other community fees around us. The action today takes the next step to help us increase our productivity by being fully staffed with contract services. Revenues have been negatively impacted because we are not able to fill the positions at this time under the city. The evaluation of these options by the City Council included public workshops, the review of a feasibility study, regular progress reports from city staff, contract direction from council to examine multiple contract models, including the concession and the fee-for-service model. On May 8th, the City Council gave us direction to choose that their choice was the fee-for-service model. Under this model, the city retains the policy control over parking and is simply outsourcing the staffing on a per-hour basis. Serco was the #1 ranked bidder in our RFP process. You authorized us to enter into negotiations and return with a successful contract, which I'm glad to report we are today. The contract and implementation plan is extremely well thought out and planned, and we will be operational, if you vote yes today, in 6 weeks on June 30th, fully operational. Serco will provide 27 full-time positions and 44 part-time positions as a part of the total staffing. Much of the staff depends on the demand, so we're only paying for the hours of service we receive. As an example, the forum events require traffic control. That depends on the number of events and the size of the attendance of the events. We've budgeted enough to handle what we believe to be a high side potential of the forum events, but those are fully reimbursed through the forums. The parking enforcement will be the full scope of services in all areas, and therefore we've added 2 dispatchers to help the police department so that we're not dipping into their resources, and they work side by side at police dispatch. We're also adding a customer service rep so that we're able to properly serve the public who come in with questions regarding their citations or their various services. The city will be paying actual hours delivered. Our budget is based on 1,856 billable hours for a full-time position. What this means is we do not pay for vacation, we do not pay for sick leave, we do not pay for unproductive time. The bidders were asked to incorporate that into their hourly rate. We also pay up to 1,500 hours for a part-time position. Those positions typically do not earn benefits, so the cost is lower, and 1,600 hours a year for a traffic position. So all of that's been taken into consideration in the budget that's before you today. The range of fees that we're going to be paying Serco at entry-level part-time worker special enforcement, $18.49 an hour. Supervising level of parking, $30.87 an hour. The average rate of the majority of these positions that we'll be purchasing is $24 an hour. So as you can see, it's a very economical proposal that Serco has provided us. All their costs are included: wages, taxes, retirement, health care, uniforms, their overhead, and their profit. Now, this contract will be managed by an on-site a manager and a regional account manager who oversees it. The city is being provided with corporate resources at this initial implementation. The HR people for the interviewing, recruitment, onboarding, the acquisition of the vehicles, the outfitting, and transition management is all being provided at no additional cost to the city. So basically, the clock starts ticking when the employees are hired and they're actually doing the work of enforcement. Our vehicle fleet will be modern and state-of-the-art. We'll have 15 two-door compact sedans, 2 crew cab pickups, and 2 passenger vans, and 1 tradesman van for the meter operation. That will really help with the efficiency of the operation. The contract is fixed price. The vehicle cost is based on their proposal, and the fee will not be adjusted for both labor or the vehicles for the first 24 months of this agreement. The annual cost of the labor is about approximately $1.4 million based on the 47,420 hours, and on the services for the forum traffic up to a max of 1,161,048 hours, again, dependent on the events and the number of hours that are reimbursed from the forum. Our vehicles cost $107,000 per year, amortized over a 5-year period of time, and the fuel, oil, maintenance, repairs, $170,800. When you average it out over 20 vehicles of the trucks and the sedans, it's very economical. And I'm glad to report Serco went through a local vendor here in the community to keep the business in Inglewood. Our implementation schedule is fast, with 6 weeks, but we're confident that we can make it with your approval today. The impacted city employees, I'd like to speak to that. They're getting first priority on jobs that are offered through this company. They will be given an opportunity for all jobs that they're qualified for to apply. They will be agreeing to the pay and benefit package offered by Serco if they choose to take that job. But they must pass the physical drug test, background check, proof of valid driver's license to be eligible, as will all other employees. If any employee has a physical limitation, they'll be given special consideration. We'll try to find a position within it, maybe that isn't the duty that they had before, but another duty. Serco's even offered to look at other positions they have in the LA surrounding areas. But basically, they'll have 12 months to recover from their situation and reapply with priority, should the injury or some type of physical limitation make them ineligible. Now, the staff report before you today also includes the resources the city will provide. The city is including the handheld radios, the portable ticket writers and printers. The parking meters continue to be owned and operated by the city. We're including space for the staff, parking for their cars, parking for their vehicles. So the city is not expending money that might get marked up by the vendor. We're keeping control of those assets that are used in the production of this business. The budget adjustments and changes in positions will change so that the remaining 3 months will be effective in the enterprise and parking services budget. So the dollars before you on the transfer have been approved by the police department, finance department, and public works. The transfers are taken out of current budget and just moving it to a different category where it will be expended. So in conclusion, we'll have projected savings due to lower labor costs and lower wages of $850,000 per year over the same level of staffing with city employees. And our revenue is projected to increase in the first 12 months between $600,000 and $700,000. So the total gain in this is close to $1.5 million net improvement to the general fund. In conclusion, I'd like to introduce a couple of key people to you that will be part of your management team to put this together. First of all, Tanya Perry, and Tanya, if you'd stand up. Tanya is the supervising enforcement officer for the police department. She's transferring over to the parking and enterprise services. She'll be the #1 person administering to this contract, reporting to the department head. She has extensive experience in all areas of parking enforcement and traffic, and I'd like to say that during this period of time of low staffing but high new events in the forum, she has single-handedly organized that and held it together with shoestring, bubble gum, and a lot of hard work, and she deserves to be commended for her efforts. And she's doing an excellent job, and I have the total confidence in her to run this operation. And what I'd like to tell the council is that the city is maintaining control and continuity. While we're using contract services, the city's still in charge of the policy. The rates you charge, the areas you administer, the parking permits, the regulations, the fees, none of that has been given up to the private sector. You're simply buying labor to be under the performance of direction of city staff. Now, 3 members of the Circle team, the senior management, are here today, and with your permission, I'd like to introduce Gene Costa, Vice President and Regional Manager, actually, of the North American Transportation and Infrastructure. And he comes to us from Renton, Virginia today, and he is in charge of our contract. Locally, Mohammed Mansour. Mohammed is California locally residents here in the LA area, LA and Orange County, and he's the regional manager and oversees the contracts here in California, including West Hollywood, San Francisco, and LA City. And he's going to do an excellent job. But very important to us is Richard Gwalchek. And Richard is a 37-year police veteran who has been hired. He retired from the city of South Pasadena as captain, and about a year ago, he decided to go back to work. Serco contacted him and recruited him for this job. Richard has hands-on experience with enforcement, all areas of law enforcement and parking, and has actually done contract services at the city of South Pasadena. So he has been an officer in charge of contract services and has been successful at it. So he's going to be a tremendous asset to the city.
Welcome, gentlemen.
I'd also like to acknowledge two city employees who have been instrumental in this. Dean Varick retired in December. He was the manager of Parking Enterprise Services. I served as acting manager in his absence. And Assistant City Manager Michael Falco. With the support of the city manager, the mayor, the council, these 2 people were the ones that really put forward the initiative to save costs, increase productivity, and had to do the hard work and to bring these items before the council. So Dean and Michael have done an excellent job on this, and today, due to their feasibility study, the reorganization, the RFPs, we're able to take this action today, and so their effort is to be commended. So, Mayor, you yourself and the current city council have provided the leadership that allowed us to do this. Without your direction, without your perseverance, this would not have happened. There's been many areas since this idea was conceived 4 years ago to bring this forward, and I want to thank the city council for their leadership and their direction on this. It's going to help the city save $1.5 million of net county cost and increase public service and safety.
Thank you. One question, how did we come up with the 56 cents per mile? How was that figured as a fare?
It's we currently use electric-powered vehicles. We have a IRS rate of 56 cents a mile that's authorized by the federal government for full reimbursement, including amortization and operation. So we felt that was a fair rate to use, and they accepted it.
Councilman Morales.
I think we spoke about it the last time Mr. Falco was up there in regards to communicating to the residents both in English and Spanish. Did you touch on that?
No, but I'd be glad to if you'd like me
I
to.
just want to know who's doing it and when it's going to be done, how much leeway we're giving the residents.
Very good. Mr. Mayor,
I just want to put some context to that. The concern is that there's obviously going to be a more diligent level of enforcement. And so people don't just get shocked where they've just been allowed to roll along, that maybe we would have a warning period that says, yeah, we really, really are going to enforce.
And while that seems unreasonable, we have not been diligent, and so it has sent in some areas the wrong message, and that's why, I feel like they deserve something.
I'll answer twice. We have a communications plan. It encompasses letting the public know about the change in staffing and the contract services and the more consistent level of enforcement that's about to take place. This will be taking place starting immediately if you approve this contract today. Action is laid out is announcements in the newspaper, touching with community-based organizations. We have a job fair that's planned for the hiring that's coming on board. And from an enforcement point of view, Tanya Perry and I have instructed the contractor that we want a period of warning, a period of transition for areas that haven't been enforced. So we want notes put on the windshield instead of tickets. We want the citizens to have a couple of weeks to a month to get used to the new level. So this will be like street sweeping. We're going to enforce it consistently. Where before we didn't have the staff to do it, people got a little lazy, and so the cars are in the way. Illegal parking in handicap spots and people parking in a public safety, probably be a little bit more aggressive in enforcing that right away. But Generally, the parking meters and the other areas of enforcement, it's going to be a warning first, ticket later. And it's going to take about 30 days, I think, to really move through the transition.
I just want to say that Tanya was such a great employee, at least with my office. I know we work closely on a lot of different items, quick, responsive. I mean, hope you're paying her a lot of money.
Okay. Okay, and one more question. One of the things that I want to make sure that the public understands, before we had the number of employees that are available, less those that called in sick, less those that were on vacation, less those that were off on injury. This is a constant staffing model. We have the same number of employees every day, is that right?
Yes, sir. We're buying the hours, and they've filled more positions so that if they have an absence or a vacation, they're able to backfill and provide us with consistent level of staff.
All right, thank you.
If you're, with your permission, may I call Mr. Costa up just to say
Sure.
a few words? Gene?
Good afternoon. Obviously, I'm very pleased to be here, and on behalf of all of Serco, I'd like to express our appreciation for the opportunity to provide these services to the city. We understand that to be successful, we have to forge a strong and long-lasting relationship that begins the first day we begin our operations. We have to start earning the trust of you all and of the citizens. It's very important to us. We understand that we are an extension of your staff, and as such, we have to be held to the highest standards as we represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. DR4?
Staff report recommending approval of design option number 3 for the Darby Art Action Mural, a community art project led by East Los streetscaper Wayne Healy and Michelle Glass, art manager with community youth and volunteers.
Move approval.
Second.
Did you want to hear a staff report? We're good?
I'm good.
We're all good. Did you just want to do it? At the very least, I have. Well, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. I know you're proud of it.
I will be brief. I
Give us
want,
the whole thing.
thank you for your time. The Darby Art Action Project is a result of a grant that we received from the county through the Los Angeles Park and Open Space District. The core of the project is that it is driven by youth with the assistance of a lead artist. We have our lead artist here today, who is Wayne Healy, along with one of our youth, Omar Baldwin. So if I could just have Omar come up and speak to the project and what it means to you, and then Mr. Healy, if you can speak briefly, we'll go from there.
Welcome, Mr. Baldwin.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Hello. I'm here representing Youth Pledging Peace. We recently did a couple murals with the Service Center, and this mural with the Darby Art Action Project, the theme was how does parks make life better? And as you can see in the mural, it shows community, peace, and unity, with the elders dancing and the skateboarders having his own piece, and the birds and the children and the dog with the leash. And me and the youth, we're very eager to start painting. We've been out there scraping the walls in the heat, and we're just ready to start painting now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Design number 3 was put together through a process that our lead artists developed with the youth. They participated in figure drawing classes, and they went out into the park to watch the community in active positions. So you'll see a lot of it represents what actually goes on there at the park. Omar mentioned the dog, and we note that this is a refined drawing. Initially, the dog was just hanging out all by itself, no leash. So we wanted to make sure that it was consistent with the rules of the park, and we added a leash. Also, with the older adults, we cherish all of our older adults, but we wanted to more reflect what's actually happening in the park. And so our Arts Commission recommended that we have a more active senior portrayed. Initially, we had a senior that was a little more sedentary, and we wanted to show the activity that takes place there at the park. And you'll see that it ranges from everything from the child swinging to the tennis players. And what's really cool here is that you will see there are lines and graphs and circles. This is a process that Mr. Healy has developed in his signature art. So if you can come forth, please, and then also bring your sample there.
My name's Wayne Healy. My mural team is East Los Streetscapers. Been painting murals for 40 years. And as it turns out, this project's brought me full circle because I used to play ball out of Darby Park 40 years ago while I was an engineer in the aerospace industry. My role in this project is to coach the young artists and in the time-tested mural methods that we've used. And I've worked with youth in schools, housing projects, even incarcerated youth. And we have a good group of youngsters on this project, and they are eager to learn. Omar is just one example. Also, we have Irene there, and younger folks. So we're going on a theme of parks make life better, and also the experience of painting a mural we feel will deter young artists from tagging murals once they know how much work it takes to put one. And this project will be finished with anti-graffiti coating called a sacrificial coat. And it's a layer of wax put over the top. Should the mural get tagged, the wax is hosed off with the tag and another coating of wax anti-graffiti coat. I brought, because that's a flat drawing there, we can't really get started till we get your approval. Brought one sample of a mural that shows some of the colors that we expect to brighten up that wall. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right, thank you.
So what you see there is
Is that black?
the actual underlay of the colors that will be incorporated along with the figures. And so we're excited. The youth have completely prepared the wall. If you've had gone to Darby Park maybe a week or two ago, you would have seen remnants of a mural. It was painted out. They've actually cleared that wall, scraped it, done what was necessary, and so it's painted and ready for the mural. So their next step is to pick up brushes and get it done. We expect that they'll be completed by the end of June, and it will culminate with the community celebration, acknowledging the artists, as well as unveiling the new mural that will be located at Darby Park. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't want to cut you short now.
That's it.
All right. I move approval.
We already have a motion.
I think we already did, right?
Yes, did.
We have a vote.
That's
Thank
okay.
you very
Madam
much.
Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Thank you very much, Ms. Barnes. Director Barnes. A1.
Thank you, Mayor. As to CS1, was a closed session regarding conference with the labor negotiators with the various bargaining groups for the city of Inglewood. Artie Fields, the city manager, and Jack Hoffman, the chief negotiators for the city. Discussion was held, no final action was taken. As to CS2, Mayor, item 2A, which was the claim of artistic resources, was pulled, so no discussion was held as to that item. As to item B, which is a claim of Denoa and Associates, there's a request for payment in the amount of $18,000.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor. As to item A2, there's no verbal report from the city attorney.
Thank you, sir. CM1?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. As you know, the city's very interested in attracting new businesses to the city, so I'm happy to announce today that the Planning Commission did approve a new Starbucks at 4801 West Century Boulevard, which will result in 15 new positions in the city. In addition, in order to deal with the warm weather and illegal activity that's going on out there, we have decided to implement a weekend graffiti abatement process. So we'll have officers out there removing graffiti on Saturdays and Sundays now instead of just during the week. And then lastly, at Vincent Park, for Memorial Day weekend, we'll be opening up the pool on from May 24th to May 26th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you, sir. C, CC1, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments today.
Wanda didn't make it, so there'll be no further reports from the city treasurer. Any persons wishing to address the council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered may do so at this time. Don't be shy. Okay, I guess nobody wants to. I know. Well, everybody wants to be last. You know how it is.
You want to be the closer.
You want to be a closer.
I guess nobody wants to be first. Okay, Mayor Butts and City Council. Mayor Butts, please do not give misinformation trying to rebut what I'm saying. Your staff is scared of you to tell the truth. Okay? Mr. Fields.
I didn't know.
Was that $1.2 billion outstanding debt? That was on your paper. The low moderate housing fund was $750 million. Is that correct? You can't answer, see?
You can answer.
Well, Mayor, what I will say, and I'll reiterate what you said earlier, is that regardless of the number, any obligation for any of that debt is not incumbent on the city.
No, yes
It's
or
not,
no?
it's
Well,
not
you
the
asked
general
him a
fund.
question,
Right.
so-
Well, I want
don't-
yes or no. I don't want
No,
to take
don't
up my
tell him
time.
not to take up
Well,
your
answer
time.
on his own time.
No, well, then don't ask him a question.
I can
All right?
ask anything I
No,
want.
If you don't want him to answer, don't ask him a
I
question.
want him yes or no.
Well,
You taking up my time too, see?
Some things
This
can't-
is what's wrong.
Some things
No,
can't
no,
be
my
answered
time.
yes
Shut
or
up,
no.
shut up, my
Some
time.
things can't be answered
My
yes or
time,
no.
shut up. I didn't ask you nothing.
Some things can't be
Can
answered
I
yes
have
or
my
no.
time back?
No. Now go ahead. You ask questions, you're going to get answers. Now go ahead.
But not lies. And what I'm trying to explain to you, Mayor Butts, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to tell the truth. Either you know it or you're in denial. Now, I've asked for the Oversight Commission meeting. You refused. Now, you know as well as I do, it's two different pots of money. The finance department, he's scared to answer. Don't muzzle people. And this is what's wrong. A bureaucrat, you can tell when he's lying as soon as his mouth starts moving. And they're professionals at it, all of them. All of them. And I hope that someday that Inglewood is going to be known as Baby Bill. Corruption is rampant here. It's been rampant. I've been here 60 years, Mayor Butts. I know where the bones are buried. And a day is going to come where they're going to rise. And you can sit in denial. You had nothing to do with it. Two of you here, or three of you here. He knows. And my councilman knows. I'm glad he's absent. And the reason he's absent because he knows. And when are my streets going to get paved? When are my streets going to get paved? He told you the money is coming in and you want to lay off people.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
You guys have no business sense whatever, and you deserve to be called and not voted
you,
in this
Mr.
office
Matthews.
again, whatsoever. All of you, the whole bunch of you. You're a disgrace to Inglewood.
Aldine Sly, First District. I just merely want to make a comment about your statements after the last meeting. You don't like to be talked to as kindergarten children. we don't like to be referred to as laughable and childish. I spoke of a home on my street being sold. The Wallaces are a beautiful family. I understand why they're selling their home. I did not ever say that the city council or the mayor was forcing people in my area to sell their homes. I never said that, but that's how you interpreted it, and that's how it came out to the public. Now, let me explain what I was trying to say. What's happening to our community once these homes are being sold? And what's in the back of my mind are the things that you stated about a single-family home can now be described as multiple family. More than one family can live in a home. So with a 5-bedroom home, I'm wondering, the real estate agent can sell it to anybody. And then you can justify them turning it into a multiple family home. Yes, this is what you said, and I have the agendas to
No, you
prove. That's what
misinterpreted
was on the agenda.
You've misinterpreted it, ma'am.
Well, explain it clearly. When you write these things down in the agenda, explain it clearly so ignorant people like me can understand it. Because I'm not the only one who misunderstood it. I care little about who lives next door to me or who lives in my community race-wise. I would just like a proper family to move in, or not a multiple family to move in a single-family home. Now, we have a home on Arbor Vitae and 4th Avenue on the corner. A single family moved in there, but before we could blink very well, they have other family members living in the home with raising pit bulls, which occasionally get out and chase people. I don't know how the Planning Commission could allow them to build on these extra portions to that house. It's illegal. It's supposed to be. I tried to put an awning up on my house, a nice, decent little awning, and I had to go through hell and high water in order to get that awning put up. And I had to pay for it. So don't misinterpret what I'm saying, please. And when you get ready to do things, make it clear to people.
Thank you,
We're
Ms.
out
Sly.
here and we want to know. You may be doing something well, but if it's not, then you need to explain it to
I'll
us.
be glad to when I speak it, but you'd have to stay around for that.
I will.
All right,
I'll stay
thank you.
around today. I had other things to do.
I'm just asking you to.
Viola Gardner, District 1. I want to ad-lib to previous friends of the community. Mr. Gil Matthews, he knows finance. He's a businessman and has been all his life. He knows whether you are doing legally union or non-union people coming in here to take over jobs. And whatever he says, I stand for it because he knows. Also concerning the building, I redesigned, or had redesigned, a existing bathhouse. I have a pool, and an architect built my home and had an existing shower bathroom. I merely redecorated that by using tile, etc., and to cover the concrete. I went through hell and high water, constantly, being told I had to do this, I had to do that. But then I look up, and at Arbor Vitae and 4th Avenue, they tear down a one-story structure, a one-story family home, and they put up a Hope Motel. I call it the motel when you turn the corner. Nothing said, given every permit, never told to do or undo anything. completely distorts the block. A motel.
What's the address?
It's the second house from the corner on the east side. No one ever came out while they were doing it. But when I was retiling my little existing bathroom, I had people there every day. My workers coming down here every day. Miss Sly having a part over her steps so that it wouldn't rain on her when she's locking the door, etc., which everyone has all over the city. She had to redo it half a dozen, however many times she says. Something is wrong.
What street was that? Is that
4th Avenue.
4th Avenue? So you said there's a motel.
Yeah, it looks like a motel. It's completely out of place.
2 houses from the corner. On 4th, is that
Second house from the corner,
north of Hardy, south of Hardy?
south of at Arborvitae, on Arborvitae, the second house from Arborvitae,
Two
on the
doors.
east side of the street,
It's a motel.
on 4th Avenue.
There's a motel.
It looks like a motel, yes. It has, I don't know how many cars taking up parking space.
But that's different. You said it looks like, is it a motel?
I said
I'm
it
just
looks
making-
like a motel and
Okay.
could be used like a motel.
Okay.
It's completely out of sync with the rest of the single-family homes.
Okay.
But anything can happen now.
We'll go look, no, we'll go look at it.
Yeah,
I
but it should have been
definitely-
looked at before it was put up.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Is there any other public comment?
Won't be before you too long. As far as the parking enforcement that we're bringing to the city, he mentioned they're going to have a community.
Job fair.
Second?
Job fair?
Oh, no. They'll have a communication outreach to let community members know that there's a new
Enforcement level.
enforcement in place. I just want to make sure that, the newspapers aren't the only way to do it. Maybe suggesting water bills to the homeowners, maybe some circulars, doing it bulk mail so that the renters in the city can know what's going on, just so that people know that, are aware that more enforcement is coming to the city. Because the last thing you want to do is have tons and tons of people getting tickets when they weren't getting tickets before. It'll be a whole bunch of confusion. I'm just trying to avoid all that. So just be helpful, just doing a little bit more outreach for people. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, council, city staff, Michael Benville, First District. Have a couple of comments, really, and a couple of displeasures about what's going on in our communities that I'd just like to bring forth to the council. Number one, there was a shooting on 83rd and 7th, and from what I understand, the person was laying in the street. And just like to know what was that all about. I haven't heard about it nor read about it, but
83rd and 7th?
83rd, I think, in 7th Avenue.
I haven't heard about that either.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
Last week, I believe.
I don't know about 83rd. I know that on Crenshaw Drive, near 82nd, there was one a couple months ago now. But anyway,
Yeah.
83rd and 7th last week?
Yeah, I've had people come to me and ask me about it. I just didn't know anything about it. So I thought I'd just bring it to the council and let them know. And
Okay.
I'd just like to find out what was the case. And it was pretty close to one of those ice cream trucks, so,
You know anything?
And I have-
Make a call. We'll call right now. I just, we get notified of everyone, I just don't.
84th Street. There was one on 84th Street,
And,
the 2900 block of West 84th.
oh, okay, well, that's it.
that's it.
Okay.
Okay, my address is a little off. so-
Okay.
But that's it. I'd still like to get the information if I could.
Okay.
A lot of people
All
have
right.
asked about that. And the other thing is getting to the public on the transportation, the parking, and that sort of thing that's coming in now. And one of the things I'd like to emphasize is that we have to, in order for this to work, we have to get the information to the general public. And that's one of the things that we just not have been successful in doing in the past. And we need to get to the block unit clubs. get the information to there, get people in to speak to these clubs and let them know what's going on, because at this point, I've not heard of it, and it's going to be a surprise to everybody that when this happens, and of course, the introduction of anything that's changed is going to be a surprise. But we want it to flow, of course, and we want it to benefit the city. I'm yet to see this revenue that they're saying that they're going to develop and bring into the city.
Who is this?
Parking.
How could you see it? They haven't started yet.
Pardon?
You said you haven't seen the revenue that Serco's supposed to bring in. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm just interested in seeing, they predicted how much revenue this would produce.
Well, parking citations are issued over time.
Right.
But the personnel savings accrue daily once the operation starts.
Oh, is most of it tied into the?
Some of it is tied into reduced
Okay.
expenditures.
Okay.
And then the others increase citation rates because we have constant staffing. Whereas
Okay.
before, if you had 5 people out ill or on vacation, that's 5 people that weren't enforcing
Okay.
parking regulations.
So it's like a
it's something
thing.
that's going to accrue over time. So when
Okay.
you say when you're going to see it, it should accrue actually on a monthly basis.
Okay, more or less an explanation of how it's figured out.
That's how it's figured.
Yeah,
The
okay.
savings in personnel costs, and then an increase in citation generation because there are more people to see the violations that occur and enforce them.
Okay, all right, and it's important for us to know that, because to me, and he didn't give a time, he didn't give, like, say, something per month, or that sort of thing.
And he can't do that because actually
I
you don't.
understand.
Because
I
you don't
understand.
set quotas on citation
Right.
generation, but we know
Right.
by experience that the more people that are available to see violations, you
Right.
end up with more citations.
Right.
But, everyone could comply with the law 1 month and you could have no citations.
Oh,
So
true.
for us to predict that there would be X number of citations that month would be wrong, because then we would be telling people to generate violations that didn't exist.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out how this number came about.
Exactly.
It's more feasible now.
It's based upon average citation generation, based on our experience with our own people. When we have X number of people in the field, how many citations tend to be generated. It's
Okay.
historical as opposed to prescriptive. We can't predict how many violations there will be, but we know what we've done in the past, and therefore we can derive estimates on citation production. But we do know every day the amount of personnel costs we would save.
Okay. And I'm emphasizing, of course, getting to the communities, first, second, third, fourth district, having someone there to answer questions, to attend the block unit meetings and that sort of thing, to straighten out things before they become a problem.
Your time. All right, thank you. You started the discussion?
Well, I'm saying those things. I didn't want to take up my time because I had some things here that I need to talk about. And that was just the first, one more thing I had to talk about.
Go do your one more thing.
Okay, Vons store on Manchester. It's about giving us the worst service of any store in this city. And there's just a number of people complaining about it. And I had to complain myself. Just no service, no service. This is Hispanic and African-American community, and we do not get service traditionally and don't get the type of service that people in the county get. And I'm very, very much concerned about that. I had to go in the store, complain myself, and the people tell me, well, we don't have, the lines up the aisles. We don't have the checkers. Well, I said, well, that's a management problem. You need to get the checkers here. We don't need to come in and have to stand in line long periods of time to give you our money. You need to have the people here so that we can get service just like anybody else.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
So that's what complain about that.
Okay.
And they need to treat our stores just like they do with other
Okay,
stores
Mr.
in the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bembo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Damon Johnson here. I'm just here for the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee again. We just had our meeting today. I saw some people here. I see one person who came. I know he came. And I'm here to remind us that we're having another meeting on June the 16th. Now, today, I'm just going to give you a little brief update on what we did. We did have some bylaws drafted, a draft of the bylaws, and we also looked at some amendments to be made in the bylaws. And so these are just drafts, and that's about all I want to say about that. We did have some tentative, something to be done. We're not done with everything. I'll tell you this much, they have 9 companies who are, the city councils are going to talk about, they're going to vote for 3 of the 9 of the people who's going to build this senior citizen center. And the key question is the senior citizen center going to be built? And there's where we are. And I know that's up to you and the builders and the design build people. With that said, I have not too much more to say. I did want to just say that it's good that we had some people come out. We had one person representing the council, congressperson, not a congressperson, but a person running for Congress. And it suggested to me that although you know everything, because you know what we do, it would be nice for the council members, I know you've been to one of our
Many of
meetings
them,
before Christmas, and maybe to have a council member come out, one of you all to come out and just encourage us. We're doing all right, but it's always good to have more backing. And I think that I'm done. Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have our total encouragement. I want to answer you directly. It will be built. We're winding down some issues with the Department of Finance as it relates to the reconciliation of our redevelopment activities. We do have the money set aside, and as soon as we have that final reconciliation, we will begin to implement the design plans that you, the people that are going to use it, come up with. I can't put it any simpler than that.
Okay, we want to make sure we have it done. That's what we want. That's
Okay,
what we're gonna do.
I got that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Council members, I hope you all paid attention to what just happened today. Did y'all notice? Mr. Matthews was told he couldn't go beyond his 3 moments. He was interrupted, and he was rudely told he could not get any more time. Same thing happened to Miss Gardner. Same thing happened to Miss Sly. But boy, howdy, Mr. Bimbo gets up here, and you talk on and on. The light's red forever, and you talk on, and he keeps on going on.
I missed it, I
If that
apologize.
is not viewpoint discrimination, then I don't know, maybe you just have no understanding of the green and the red. It's a little bit different.
I'm
You
not
don't need to
perfect.
interrupt me, that is
Not perfect, missed
absolutely
it.
rude. It is
Not
just the
perfect,
way
missed
you
it.
have been doing it for many moons, but today was a little bit more obvious. And I guess that's why it is that you think that so many of us need to be told to shut up. That's how you do it. That's why this community doesn't think you listen to the community members. Most of us who get up here that ask a question are concerned about our community, but immediately we get talked back to and unkindly told that we sound like children. You even went off to say at one point that someone who gets up here and asks a question about something on the agenda probably has an emotional need from their past. Well, I don't know where any of you got your psych degrees, but you did not list those on your qualifications to run for office. And yet here you are making those kinds of statements, which are very rude, very inappropriate. That's about viewpoint discrimination. Now, since we are going to have the pool open at Centinela Park, I would hope that everyone who has the opportunity to go to that park and go to the pool looks at the walls and notice how it has been somewhat, I guess, sandblasted off, but there's a very beautiful relief that was once on that pool bathhouse. It was a WPA project way back long ago, and that should actually be listed as a cultural heritage landmark. Unfortunately, more than likely because I suggested that, someone's probably going to say, oh no, let's tear the thing down. That seems to be how we function in this community. And I thought of that the other day when I was watching some program where everyone was looking at the stars on Hollywood Boulevard, and I was never able to describe to people exactly what our sidewalks used to look like. They were of terrazzo. That same stuff that those stars, the Hollywood walk, were made of. And then we decided to come along, bulldoze them, and turn them into that bricky stuff. When we had a wonderful treasure, we instead decided to tear it up and get rid of it. That's the kind of thing that I wish we would appreciate. But I'm sure someone will say, oh, sit down, your time is up, and you only say negative things.
I didn't know we had President Obama's chief of staff. Anyway, I wanna agree with something that they were saying, Ms. Gardner, about the property on Arbavada. Where was the code enforcers? I thought that was their job to enforce the codes of building and planning or whatever. That's not right.
Do you know that they haven't?
That's what,
Well, why
I
we-
don't know.
why don't
I'm
we-
asking,
why don't
where
we-
were they?
Well, I haven't seen it. Why don't we look at it first?
Okay, please,
That'd
please,
be a
because
good idea,
it's not
right?
fair. Now,
And then we'll
another
get the
thing,
bulldozer.
yeah, that's not fair, you know. Parking and traffic. You know, we got away with a lot of stuff with parking. I'm not gonna lie. Not putting our handicap up, and we got away, all of us did in the city. And I know that this company will be hitting us hard. So, therefore, instead of you all having these little meetings, I know you don't have time for, I think each councilman should send an email blast in bold print, English and Spanish, letting everyone know no parking on the yards, front yards, no selling cars on the streets, resident and all this stuff got to stop. You know, because just having a meeting, the people will not attend. Most of them will not, but an email blast like Alex do all the time, you know, big and bold, warning, so and so. That would be most appropriate for the people, because we have been getting away with a lot of breaking the law on parking issues. And we do need the money, the revenue. But like the mayor said, it probably all stopped because everybody know that a new company coming in, we can't get away with it. Also, I want to mention one other thing. Let's see. Oh, you know, it's some people that have CEO degrees and CPA degrees in finance and everything else. But I don't understand, how is it you all sit up here with a $1.2 billion debt and not in jail? Why aren't you all in jail? When will you all be taken? Because enough is enough with this. You all, Mr. Matthew is just still not pleased. Every time he asks, he always gets upset about it. I don't know what else you could do, but really, y'all need to be in jail. That kind of money. Seriously, it won't be baby bail, it'll be big. But evidently, you ain't doing nothing wrong because you're still sitting there. So, I'm gonna just let y'all know it is funny because all these CPAs and finance directors sitting in the audience
We're at time.
and everything else.
We're at time.
You know, oh yeah,
Thank
I forgot I'm not the president. Yeah, president.
All right, we'll close public comment. Councilman Dotson, did you have anything? It's not mandatory.
Yeah, I have something.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the house on Fourth Avenue belongs to Mr. and Mrs. DeLong. They invested quite a bit of money into that home. They built it back 2 stories. I think it's a lovely home. It's probably the biggest one on the block, but so what? But it's a beautiful home, and I've been through it. It's a wonderful addition to the avenue. And other people will probably come in and build homes bigger than they are. That's just the way of the world right now. People find a neighborhood that they like and they enjoy, and they don't want to move somewhere else. They just add on to the home that they have. The other thing is, Mr. Bimbo mentioned about bonds. I'm so grateful that you did that. I please want you to call my office. Let's get together and see what we can do about that. We want service in our neighborhood. They make the money, they need to give us the service. I understand that, we all understand it. So please, get with me on that. I want to thank the Inglewood community and my colleague, Councilman Franklin, for coming out and supporting our Relay for Life American Cancer Society fundraiser at Chili's this past Thursday. It was a wonderful event, and I want to thank staff as well. City manager and assistant city manager, Michael Falco and Audie, thanks for coming out and enjoying with us. I appreciate that. We managed to raise some money for the Cancer Society, so thank you very much. I wanted to congratulate you guys on the job you did with SEDCO. Wonderful contract. I'm looking forward to working with them, and I'm so grateful that they used Tanya. That was wonderful. That's the idea that I wanted to see happen. Let's use the people we have. She invested a lot into that department, and now she's going to be running that department. That's great. That's really wonderful. I want to invite the public, June 7th, June 8th. Please come out and join the fun, Relay for Life. If you have not signed up, please go to relayforlife.org, punch in Inglewood, join Council Team Dotson, and come out and enjoy the festivity and help us raise some money and awareness for cancer. Once again, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out. You don't think we listen, but we do. I take notes, and I try, and when I can do something that will answer your questions, I will do so. Once again, thanks again for coming out. Please contact my office if you have a problem, and I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Councilman Padilla?
Thanks, Mayor. A couple of quick things. One is, next week, we're not having a council meeting because of Memorial Weekend, so I want to put a couple of things out there for you. One of them is the Inglewood Unified School District is having a walkathon on Saturday, May 31st, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. to raise funds for the school. It'll be over at Coleman Stadium, which is at 401 South Inglewood Avenue. Again, that's on Saturday, May 31st, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you can come out and support the school district, I know they really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you out there. The other one is Memorial Day weekend. The city is having their annual Memorial Weekend activities here in the lawn of City Hall. It'll start on Monday at 11 a.m. So I hope you can come out here and celebrate and recognize those folks that have paid the ultimate price, and to thank those that are still out there providing the freedom that we're able to exercise even today here at a council meeting. Again, I'm going to go back to what folks will get up here and talk about, and they'll attack some of the staff. And then I'm going to more specifically, even today, with attacking the mayor's integrity and who he is as a person. I got to tell you, I've known this man for probably 30 years, and I've worked for the man for 15 years. And this is a person of character and integrity, and I've never been afraid to tell him what I think. I don't believe staff or anybody else is afraid of the mayor, afraid of him. That's not that's not who he is. That's not what he's about. I appreciate folks coming up here and talking about their issues and their concerns and how they feel about the subject matter. And I know you do it with passion and because you believe in what you're saying. but it's when it becomes confrontational, when you become accusatory, and you take it to the next level, that's not appreciated. I know none of us appreciate that, and especially when you're going to attack a man's integrity. Again, that goes without saying. This is a man of the utmost integrity, and if you would take a chance to get to know him, instead of just come up here on Mondays or Tuesdays at our council meeting and just go off, you'll have a different perspective on who he is as a person. Going on to the next thing, Mayor, if I can just get about another 30 seconds.
Michael Bimbo took it all. Go ahead.
We talk about what's going on in the community besides Serco and how we're going to get the word out there, which we're going to do. But we talked about crime. We talked about there was a shooting. You mentioned up on the avenues up here. And I encourage folks, if they have an incident that occurs, the police department has crime mapping. And it's out there for those type of situations. So if you have access to a computer, you can log on and look at it. If you don't have access and it's something you feel like you critically need to know about, call a friend and have them log on, and/or call the watch commander if they're not busy, and if it's urgent and you need to know, call the watch commander, and they'll be able to give you the information. But right in the midst of the situation developing is not the time to call, but wait till it's all over, and if you really have a need to know, you can call the front desk, and maybe they'll be able to provide you some insight. But it's not because we're trying to not let folks know what's happening. We want to work with the community to keep them informed. With that, I just want to wish all of you a blessed Memorial Weekend. And again, thank you for coming out this afternoon and letting us know about your concerns and to participate in the city council meeting. Thank you.
Councilman Morales.
Thank you. And we're all kind of going to hit a lot of the same points. Absolutely, the warning for the parking enforcement is something I've discussed with staff. We know it's been happening for a long time, but it's kind of the onus is on us because we didn't have the resources to push it. And so we sent the wrong message, and now it's our turn to kind of, bring out the new process in a way that's acceptable to the residents, but at the same time, recognizing that we need to enforce these laws. We need to do it. It's something that's been a shortfall for our city for a long time. The second thing, the code enforcement. There are times when there are code enforcement issues all around the city, but once again, we don't have the amount of employees that can drive each and every block every day. If somebody feels that there's somebody on the block that needs to maybe violated some sort of code enforcement, feel free to call code enforcement or call one of us, your council person. I get the calls all the time. We send code enforcement out there. It's not something that you're obviously not the employees, but if we're all going to live here together and we all want to push code enforcement, let's play a community part in it. I'm sure if you'd have called Councilman Dodson's office, there would have been an update, and there would have been some movement, at least some answers. That's how code enforcement works. It's a very difficult issue because a lot of folks, if they come from other cities, they're pushing what was acceptable in that other city, and they may not know. Those are things we deal with every day, so I just wanted to put that out there. And the last thing is it's gotten to a point, and we really appreciate public comment, but we have to start being a little more courteous to each other in terms of, everything goes, in a mutual way, but here, it's obviously, Mr. Math, I've known you for years. It's the first time I see you lose your cool like that,
I've seen it before.
Well,
Go ahead.
in terms of telling the mayor, like that, I mean, it's something that, I gotta tell you, it's not acceptable. It's something that nobody up here deserves, just by virtue of the seat we hold. You don't have to like us as people, just let's really respect who we are as a city. I can tell you the mayor does not intimidate any of the employees. I have been here for years in the past where employees felt intimidated to speak out. I know that. This is not that time. I can tell you that there's an open communication. not only with the mayor, with all of us. And trust me, we all know, we can all say no to the mayor. It's something that's always out there brewing, but I can tell you that the mayor is, the difference between this leadership and other leadership styles is the fact that there is a reasonable conversation attached, and we all get to the point we get to. And I can guarantee you, if you take the time and go see him in his office, you'll find the same thing. I guarantee you. I guarantee. Well, I mean, maybe there's a reason for that too. And maybe that's something you should look at, Mr. Bathhouse. Seriously. I mean, to be honest, when there are requests for meetings, there's a lot of things we think about. So, you should do the same, and that was it.
Thank you. I had promised Ms. Sly I would try to put in context the remarks about when she said there was a house for sale. Now, one of the things that you did say was that, I may be paranoid, but look, here's a manifestation or a paraphrasing of what has happened. There's a house down the street for sale. And I took that in the context of you saying this sale was emblematic proof of what you had discussed in weeks prior. Now, because a house is sold does not mean it can be now made into an apartment or a multiple development, because we basically have zoning standards. And so you can only do so much to a single-family home. Isn't that right, Mr. Fields? And so the thing that I believe you're referring to was when we were talking about the implementation of the residential sound installation program, we kept a standard in place that actually LAWA and the FAA recognized that under certain number of units can be considered single-family for the purposes of the program. That is not for the purposes of development in Inglewood. It allowed us to continue with homes, residences that are already in the pipeline, and give them and group them as they were. So it had nothing to do with your neighborhood. Your neighborhood's zoned R1. We can't put apartments in your neighborhood unless it's rezoned. So that cannot happen. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. And I think those were your questions. As it relates to this whole thing about, we owe $1.2 billion. If you just calculate the interest at 5% on $1 billion in a year, it dwarfs. Give me the interest of 5% on $1 billion. Simple interest.
That would be $5 million. $50 million.
No,
Sorry,
it's $50 million.
On $1 billion?
On $1 billion.
Oh, $1 billion. Oh, it's $50 million.
It's at least $50 million. So just interest only would be 2/3 of the general fund. It would be 2/3 of the general fund. I mean, just Mr. Matthew, you've been saying this for years, and stop, please. It makes no sense, sir. And she says you're like an economic genius. I can't reconcile that. Okay, all right. I can't reconcile that. So I'm going to tell you again, there's no way the city has $1 billion in debt. We couldn't even pay the interest on it. And so don't stop, please. Stop, please, sir. You had your time. Now, there's agency debt and there's housing funds, but you have to understand, those are not obligations of the general fund. The state of California has dissolved redevelopment, and in doing so, they took the 20 million plus we got every year. We don't get it. They're responsible now for any debts of the redevelopment agency. So we could sit here and have these philosophical discussions. It means nothing. We may as well talk about what Bank of America owns, because we're not paying that either. So let's just talk about the real world for us. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying when you do that, you throw it out. God help us if, like, developers were listening and they thought that was the last word. They said, oh, my God, they pay $50 million a year in interest. Come on, sir. Be for us. We're for you. So no. And this is why it's hard to talk to you, because you're not reasonable about this. I'm just sorry. You're not. Okay. Well, I know logic and numbers are on my side. So and so for anyone that thinks that we're being rude to you, some of you consider being rude just telling you black and white logic, numbers. I'm sorry, if that's being rude, you have a wrong concept of what being rude is. And excuse me, I'm telling you the truth. And so like I said, Ms. Sly, no one can put multiple family buildings in your neighborhood unless it's rezoned. So no matter what anyone tells you, that cannot happen. And Ms. Gardner, I think I know the house you're talking about. they've invested money in it. It's not a motel. They've enlarged, it's a, it looks like, okay, I get that. And then that becomes an aesthetic choice. But if it meets the code requirements, when they put in their plans, like so much of a setback from their neighbors, you know, not exceeding certain story levels, wait a minute, no, then the planning department, building inspectors, they inspect the plans, and they come and inspect the work. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, if that didn't happen, I'm sure Councilman Dotson's going to look and make sure that all the plans were approved and that it was built in accordance with the plans and that the sign-offs were made. Now, here's the penalty. If people don't adhere to the plans that they have approved, they can have to tear a structure down. So there's a severe penalty for people to do stuff, you know, that's not legal. So I'm sure Councilman Dotson is going to check and make sure, and we'll be able to report whether or not those standards were met. But with that, we're going to close the meeting, and you're welcome to come up and talk to Councilman Dotson and say whatever you want. All right? So we're adjourned. Thank you very much.